Canyon owners, Reggie here with TricLED, and today I'm going to show you guys the installation for our Canyon floorboards. So these floorboards here had this really cool topography shape up on top. It's got this really cool canyon cutout, and what's really neat about this is that it is also backlit. We've got three-way adjustable, so this could be set to back, middle, or forward depending on rider height, and this can adjust forward or back. It's got a non-skid top on it. This is super easy to install. You don't even have to remove any body panels, and the Canyon writing here is a straight plug and play to the customer accessory port. So let's go ahead and I will turn this on for you, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the installation. So let's go ahead and turn this on. As you can see, when you start the bike, the accessory comes on. And this is the right side of the passenger port. So now that you guys have seen what it looks like, let's go ahead and get started with our installation process. First thing what we want to do is these splash guards here in the front. You've got 3 bolts here. So what you want to do is go ahead and remove these 3 bolts that I've removed up here. We're going to go ahead and remove that, and this is going to be pretty flimsy, so just hang on to them, make sure they don't fall off. And also right here, your rear foot pegs, we want to go ahead and remove these 4 Torx bolts. So remove this Torx bolt on both sides of this foot peg here first, and that'll allow you to take this foot peg off, and then we'll be able to get to these 4 bolts right here. So let's go ahead and get this removed. So this particular bolt on the side of the foot peg is a Torx 30. Once we've removed both the bolts, we can go ahead and just remove this out, and we'll go ahead and we'll remove those 4 bolts right there. Okay guys, so those 4 is a Torx 40, T40 right here. So let's go ahead and get these removed. All right, so once we've removed that, we're gonna go ahead and install our new bracket behind it, and we're gonna put the foot peg back. All right guys, so this is the new bracket that holds the boards. So it's marked left, and we're simply gonna put the foot peg bracket back right over it, just like that. Gonna put this right back over it. Just gonna thread it back. So you want to just thread this back, but don't snug it up yet, because there is some play here, and that'll allow you to have some play later when we put the boards on forward and back. And that's what this a little bit of adjustment does. So it's been specifically cut out both left and right, so it'll allow you to put these 2 screws back when you put the foot pegs back on. So we're just going to kind of just snug this back up. We're going to test fit the boards, make sure everything lines up. Once we get that snugged and lined up, then we're going to come back and crank these back down. All right, so right now they're just kind of loosely snugged, so they have a little bit of play. All right, so next we're going to put the base of the board going forward, and we're going to put this up towards the front. We'll lay it back here in the back. We'll loosely put all the bolts on. Okay, so I've got the base of the boards, and what I've done is I've just positioned it for now. And what's nice is it's going to be able to just kind of rest on this bracket here in the back. And the holes in the front here is slotted, so you've got a little bit of play forward and back. So for my position that I've looked at for positioning, I'm going to push this bracket all the way towards the front side. So it'll butt up right up against the back of this board. And I'm looking at the hole alignment here, and I can see the bolt holes line up to these 3 bolt holes for the plastic shroud, rain deflect, water deflector here. So those holes line up. So now that we've got that lined up, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back off. I'm going to snug these down, and I'm going to put the foot pegs back on. So we'll be able to put these 2 screws on. So you notice that there's a notch here for the screws, so you'll be able to put those back on. And then we'll lay this board back down. We'll put the 2 bolts from here with the lock nut on the back side. And then we'll be able to put these 3 bolts with the lock nut on the bottom side. And then we'll be able, actually, before we put these 3 bolts down, we're gonna put the beautiful overlay on top. And then we'll put these bolts down right here. And then we've got the side foot pegs here. So there is 3 adjustment. We've got the furthest back, depending on the height and how far out you want to stretch out your legs. So we've got the back one, the middle one, and all the way forward. Let's go ahead and get this thing removed. And we will snug this down, install our foot peg back on. All right, now that we've got that snug, let's go ahead and put the foot pegs back on. All right, guys, we got that now secured, so let's go ahead and put the boards back on. Okay, so I've got the boards placed back up, and I've gone ahead and put the topography overlay on top of the boards, and I've lined up all the holes here. So now I've got the floorboard snugged all the way forward, and I've got all the holes lined up. Be sure to make sure that the front of this is all lined up. So look on the very bottom to make sure it's all lined up to the panel here. And you're going to have a 40mm screw, and that will go on the 3 holes here, which lines up with the 3 bolts that you took off earlier from the factory. So we will not reuse the factory ones, but you will use the 3 provided bolts, and you will actually go right through the current holes that are on this plastic piece. And then on the bottom, we're going to go ahead and put the lock nuts down from the bottom. So let's go ahead and put this through. Now that they've all lined up, we're going to go ahead and put these through. So this way you put this through and it will hold this panel together so that this board actually is not going to fall off, because the back side is being held by this bracket here. Okay. Just going to screw this down. So now we've got those 3 front ones, probably the most crucial one here, because that actually holds this plastic piece together. Now, this right here, we can just go ahead and put that through. We'll take this lock nut here and we'll lock this down, and that'll keep this overlay nicely secured. So we'll go ahead and do that with all of these. So once you've got all the lock nut tight in there, we'll go ahead and snug all of these. But this floorboard is taking shape really nice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put these 2 M8 bolts through. So these 2 bolts right here and lock nut, we're going to just put them through the back side right here. And that is a 13mm socket. And we'll go ahead and snug that down. And the same goes for here. For the foot peg, it's also 13mm. And then these open holes, will provide you with push pins to cover those up so you won't see the holes there. But this is looking really nice, and you've got the Canyon right out there. Once we light this up, it's gonna look super sharp. All right, so the only thing that's left is the pegs here, and I know from my position from the testing that I've done that I'm the middle one here is my preference. So I'm going to go ahead and install that here, and that's also the same 213mm bolt, the same like this one. All right, let's finish up the foot peg. Okay, so we've got our pegs here, foot peg. So all of this is actually made from aluminum, so it's super lightweight, and you will see how sturdy it is. We'll be able to stand up on these without a problem. So this is also a foot peg here, and all of this actually comes with the board, so nothing extra you have to buy. And these are really nice. You can adjust them forward and back, up and down. So once you put them on, you guys will just go ahead and get these adjusted to your preference. So put the 2 bolts on, put the nut on the back side. So I'm just gonna lightly snug them down because I'll have to sit down later and see how far up the position will be to my liking. But as far as the install of the boards, these are all done. So now we're on to the right side. So a couple of things here to note, that on the brake pedal on the Canyon, if you actually remove these 2 bolts, you can actually take this and flip it. And so on this particular board, this is one of the things that you have to do. You would actually need to remove these 2 bolts, and we're going to take this, we're going to flip it, because this will actually extend this brake up higher, and that'll give us a better clearance on the footboard. I've gone ahead and removed the 3 bolts here, but what I wanted to show you here is just in case if anybody is wondering if this floorboard is strong enough, you know, when we put this across to stand up on, I wanted to show you that there is a frame down here. So this actually is mounted to the frame of the bike, so it is super sturdy. So the splash guard is like the facade, but underneath it is an actual frame. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is remove these 2 bolts here, and we're going to flip this upside down. So these 2 bolts here is 10mm bolt. Go ahead and loosen this up and flip this pedal the opposite way. So just like that, comes up, and what you want to do is just flip it upside down. So you notice that it was sitting like this before, and now we're just going to flip it up, and you see how far up that comes up. We're going to set that down just like that. Go ahead and get this position, and this can slide back and forth, so make sure we want to slide this in a position to where it will be able to clear the boards, which we will have plenty of room for that. All right, so we've got that snug down pretty good. So next we're going to go ahead and remove these 2 torque screw, and we'll remove those 4. So that's the 4, Torx 40. Now we've got our bracket for the right side. Mark with the letter R for right. And we'll go ahead and we'll take our pegs. We'll slide in the 4 bolts, just like that. We'll go ahead and position this back. Okay, so prior to snugging these 4 bolts on and before you put the foot pegs, I went ahead and I put the floorboards on. And that is just to make sure that we've got the positioning right, because this bracket, we want to make sure that we've got the right positioning forward. We've gone ahead and slotted these 3 holes, and that's to make sure that those 3 right there, because those are threaded going down. So I've got them all lined up, and we'll be able to use these M5 by 40 millimeter bolts. And we're going to go ahead and be able to drive that down there, and then we'll be able to put this lock nut down on the bottom. So we're not going to do that for now, but we've got the positioning proper, and we've got this bracket positioned properly. And so now we're going to remove this board, snug down these 4, put the foot peg back on, and then we'll be able to mount the floorboard. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and dropped these screws down so they're just on here loose. I haven't put any of the lock nuts yet on the bottom. I'll go ahead and just drop these through. We've got the holes lined up here. And then we'll put a lock nut down at the bottom. All right, so now we've got these 3 screws down. So now this splash guard is on here pretty tight now. So now it's just a matter of dropping these lock nuts down on the bottom for the rest of these. And then we can go ahead and put the 2 bolts that mount the bracket onto the boards from the back. Okay, to finish up, just this last 2 bolts here. We put the lock nut on the back side, and again, this is 13 millimeters. And this will secure the boards to the bracket. All right, that's nice and snug. Floorboards down. Plenty of clearance, beautiful. So now we'll just go ahead and put our foot pegs on now. So we've got our highway pegs here. Put these on. The 2 bolts from the back. Tighten them up a little bit more. Looking really sharp, guys. All right, so as far as for the installation of the boards, that is pretty much it. Okay, now that we got the boards installed, and now we want to go ahead and just get power up to the Canyon lettering here. So we've got the LED already adhered, and the only thing left to run is just the wiring along the bike, and we're going to get that up to the accessory port right up at the top. So let's take a look here for both sides and how you're going to run the wiring for both of these. So for the left side, let's look down underneath. So we've got our wiring here coming out at the top, and we're going to put it right up onto this crease, and we're going to run it back right up to the bike right here. And as you can see, the tubing right here along the bike, we're going to go ahead and zip tie it all along the tubing here, and it's going to come right up towards the front. And right up here, we're going to zip tie it. And from this point, this is your A-arm cross member. And from here, we're going to go take it straight up to the top. So we don't have to remove any body paneling, but from here, this is where your A-arm is. So this section is right around this area right here. Right here. So from here, we're going to route it towards the inside. So there's some wiring here, and you'll just take this straight up, zip tie it along the way, make sure we get it out of anything that's hot. And we're gonna take it straight up to the top, right to the accessory harness port up there. So let me show you what the other side looks like real quick. Okay, so this is the right side. So you got your brakes. So again, wiring across the back side here. So your wiring is going to be 72 inches total. So you'll have a 12-inch that you'll come across first, and then a 60-inch running all the way to the front. So about 6 foot total, and that'll get you all the way to the front. So again, once you come across behind the brake pedal here, and then above your brake pedal right here. So up and out of the way, and then we're going to go right along the bar right up to this area right here. And so once you get it up into this area, again, this is your A-arm away from all any heat, and then from here you'll just be able to go straight up to the top. So here it is from the top side. So this is where the wire's coming across, and from here you're going to go right up this frame, and you're going to go straight up to the top. Now we're going to go from up top, and I'll show you, because you'll be able to see this pretty clearly from up top, and I'll show you where the accessory port is from the top, and it's just going to be pretty easy, plug and play, and pretty quick. So here we go. Okay, so from the front, the only thing we have to remove is we're going to remove these side top panel covers here. We're going to remove this top cowling, because your accessory port is right behind here, one on each side, and you're going to get an accessory harness, an OEM accessory harness, which will be great. Not only we're going to use it for this, but you'll be able to use it if you want to have anything powered with the accessory harness. You're going to have that as a bonus. So let's go ahead and remove this top cover, this side, and this. So now you have two push pins that you have to remove, which is on the top right here and right here. You want to remove those two. So once you remove that, you'll just want to pull this forward, and there's two clips here on the bottom which they'll just come forward just like that. Okay, so here's your two push pin clip. All right, so inside your kit, you will receive two of these OEM accessory harness. And we usually sell this on the side, but for this particular floorboard, you're gonna get two, one for each side. So this is the only thing we're going to use. We're not going to use the lever lock or the plug that goes in here, because our extension harness, it'll actually just plug in here, one from each side. But the other thing I want to show you what's cool also is we also have the same accessory harness like this, but this one has a switch. So if you guys ever wanted to do an accessory harness that has a switch, this particular line can be switched on and off, and this one can stay live all the time. So you can continuously add this port, and you can have one line that you can turn on and off. So anyway, this is something that you guys can add on if you wanted to, but for our purpose, this particular one will plug into the factory piece here, and when you turn on your bike, it will come live and your floorboards will come on. So let's go ahead and try and pull this plug off on each side, and we'll go ahead and plug these things in. All right, so this wire right here is just plugged in to the top of the Canyon. So if you reach in, and there's a clip there up on top, and you'll be able to unclip it. So if you look here, and if you push down on that, you'll be able to pull it off. So once you pull that off, and you take one of your accessory harness, you simply just plug in on the back of it, snap it in, and this other end looks just like the factory piece. You can take this and just put it back on there as a placeholder, and this other end is what we're gonna plug in our LED light that we ran from the bottom. Okay, so this wire right here is from the floorboard. So what I've done is I've actually pulled this up from the very bottom. So if you run that through the bottom A-arm here and fish it through the top, I got the wire right here. So you've got some pretty good slack. Make sure you guys always use some dielectric grease, and then just plug it into the power harness that we just plugged in, just like that. And that is pretty much it as far as your connection. So this end right here, it looks just like the OEM harness we took off earlier, and you can just plug this back in up there as your placeholder. So this particular side now is finished. Okay. So now that that's connected, we'll get the wires kind of tucked in here, looking nice. So let's continue on to this side. So again, this is the OEM wiring here. Here it is. And we will take the OEM harness here. So we're not going to use this, but let's say in the future you guys did want to use, let's say, one side of it to power anything, any accessories and stuff, you can simply, open these things up and insert positive when you're red, ground on your black, snap it shut. Make sure you strip the wires before going in there, and you guys actually have a keyed accessory power. But since we're not using that, we're going to go ahead and leave this plug for our plug down at the bottom. So let's go ahead and plug this in. Okay. And again, this side, we can just plug that back into the bike. So this is my wire for the running boards on this side. Some dielectric grease. We plug that in. And then this, we'll just go ahead and put this back on the bike. Right there, we've got it inserted back, just like the way it was before. Now we'll start the bike and let's test the floorboards, and if that is all good, we'll make sure we'll zip tie all our wires going up to the top and make sure there's nothing in the way. All right, here we go. Once you guys ride with these, it's totally different. There's no way you can ride on this Canyon all day having your foot just on that peg. This gives it a totally different ride and feel, being able to move your feet around. Obviously, if you guys have ridden spiders for many years, you guys know what it feels like to have a floorboard, and this just simply elevates your ride. So anyway, let's go ahead and finish putting back the front cowling. All right, guys, thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you new content and innovative products.